Brilliant. All right, so what's the plan, Fabian? How are we going to, I'm not quite sure how we've clearly prepped this very well.
Yeah, as always, right? So you and I are going to start cooking, right? And those guys here on either end can start debating. So we sent you an intro email and we asked you all to prepare kind of like a 1.5 minute pitch of what you think the future of sales will be. Very well known, Stuart, that you are a sales professional, correct? I can see that by the hair, the nice...
on a good day. Yeah, on a good day with the wind behind me.
Well, then Tammy on the other side, she has, I would say, a slightly different view on things. And then, of course, Charlie is now checking the email to say, oh my God, did I read it? Charlie, you're coming from the tech side, but that's okay. So who would like to kick off first? And we're just taking the conversation wherever we want to take it.
Stuart, you, me? I'm happy to go.
Ladies first, please, and then I'll try and follow.
Okay, so I'm all about the death of the salesman. Sorry. Sorry, Stuart. My argument about the death of the salesman is that we need to consider who our customers are. And our customers are millennials, they're baby boomers, they're highly online, they've got very short attention spans and they do everything online. And then we've got this new generation coming through very soon, which is Gen Z, and they're very much online. They've never known a time when they didn't have a computer in their pocket. And the statistics show they have an 8-second attention span. So sorry, salespeople, they tend to waffle a little bit. Can they get their pitch down to 8 seconds? Probably not. So I'm looking at it from a hotel perspective. We're going to have to make some tough decisions over the next few months. We've got marketing managers, we've got revenue managers, and in the middle we've got these little sales managers. Marketing's all about websites, awareness, brands, revenues, pricing, OTAs, distribution. And what do these sales managers do? They have coffee. Do we need that? Probably not. Their role can be fulfilled by these other guys. So let's just accept they're over. Sorry, Stuart.
I'm very
I hope
pleased.
I hope this webinar is the way you're letting people find out about their futures.
Tammy, it'd be really good if you could just tell us what you really think, like open up, learn a little...
You want me to just be a little bit softer and just say,
no, that's fantastic.
The extinction of the sales manager.
I think you took Charlie's Tinder profile too hard, right? Direct is back. There's no two words about it. You most probably have Stuart. Should I give you 20 minutes?
Well, it was going to be a subtle and balanced opening argument, but as soon as we've gone for the jugular... Okay.
Right, what's your,
go on.
What's your rebuttal?
So,
go.
revenue management, or tweaking, I call it. When I was younger, my first job weekend was selling cars. I was selling cars at the age of 14 in Dad's garage. And obviously I couldn't drive. It was very obvious to everybody around me that I couldn't drive, but I could still take the sale right up to contract because I knew how to do one thing. I knew how to listen. And from listening, I added value. And you'd have people say, I live down a country lane. You'd say, okay, so ground clearance is something important to you. Okay, a crazy mileage. Okay, so you need something with a great seat. And listening and adding value. And that's where salespeople are essential because, being a sales guy isn't a guy in a shiny suit and the loudest person in the room. It's somebody that goes out on your behalf and looks to add value to your customers and your clients, and they sell in a collaborative way. And you can teach a spreadsheet to spot a trend, but you can't teach it to make a friend. And that's where sales... If you want to get out of the economic hole you're in, the biggest asset you can bring to your business is get a sales force who'll go out into the market on your behalf and actively look how they can add value to your customers.
A spreadsheet cannot make a friend. A spreadsheet can spot a trend but cannot make a friend. That's brilliant. Well done.
That's a
I
blog
think we've just found the name of this webinar. There you go, Fabian. That's the name.
I like that. Charlie, did you have time to reflect on that and give us your minute and a half?
Yeah, well, I mean, from a technological point of view, I think there's an opportunity. I guess I would come down the middle. An opportunity for a large change in where salespeople's time is used, which can make it far more efficient and effective, one would hope. But I definitely I think you did sum it up so well with the difference between technology and humans, and the fact that there is something unique you can do when you create relationships with people and get an emotional connection. And having salespeople who are capable of doing that on your side at your hotel has got to help you win some deals you wouldn't otherwise. The extent to which they win more deals than they cost, that's another question. That depends on how good the sales team are and how well you manage them. But definitely there's a big opportunity for tech to just improve everyone's output and capability by 20-30%.
Yeah,
that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks, guys. Rob and I are going back to cooking now.
What are you cooking?
Yes.
That's what I'm waiting for. When do I get my when do I actually get my instructions, Fabian?
Oh man, you need the instructions. I bought both dishes. I thought we're making both. Okay, but clearly we're absolutely organized. I'll send you the website that I took it from. Yeah, that's the easiest. They even have it for you.
Do you know what? A good salesperson would have known this and would have had it really, really thought out and planned, and it'd be organized.
I think value, Mr. Patterson, you see.
Hang on, where's your coffees? The salesperson would have put coffee and biscuits out.
Tammy, let me ask you this, because it's a very fair point, right? Stuart.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you were a tweaker, right? And then you kind of turned into a salesperson. Now, do we have the perception that all you guys are doing is getting your nails done, your hair done, and really just doing nothing?
Really?
No, I mean, I'm completely stereotyping right now, right? I'm to the extreme, right? To say, yeah, all Stuart does all day is sit on his bum and drink coffee, right? Well, why do we have that stigma?
I think because a lot of people have got a very rigid day, look at people that have maybe got a more fluid day and think that's just the extent of the
fun
day. I think, if you go and talk to an FC who's got a 8:30 till 5:30 job and they've got to get this sent, that done, that process, that paid. Sales is a collaborative process and it takes time. You have to be held accountable. And one thing I always make sure my teams do is they feed back each week what they have brought over the line. But I think outwardly sales can look like quite a fluffy existence sometimes. And sometimes it is.
Tammy, I'm interested to ask you a question here because it's an interesting point. I mean, if you're talking about an economy hotel that doesn't have a lot of meeting space, I kind of get it. But if you've got a full-service hotel with a large conference space, when was the last wedding that a business was sold? When was the last wedding that was sold online? When was the last major conference sold online? I still think there's a huge place for sales, and it's just and people by people. So without that, you're just not going to get any of that business. So what's your thought on that side of the business?
Well, if you're a large-scale hotel, you're going to have a wedding coordinator. And they will be out there looking for new weddings and they will be responding to the inquiries. But let's take a step back. So first and foremost, you've got to have that really great marketing. So your marketing manager has to have it right online because people are researching online first and they are spending a lot of time online. They're looking at their favorite influencers, they're looking at their YouTubes, all these other things. And then probably by the time they walk into the hotel, they're not looking for a salesperson, they're looking for the person that they're going to just finish the deal with because they've already got it planned out in their mind. They've already got everything ready. And then they walk in the hotel and this is what I want, this is when I want it, this is how I want it. But in your big hotel, that's going to be your wedding coordinator. Then you're going to have your conference and events people and your reservations people. But do you need that sales manager role? Because you've got these other roles doing those jobs.
Do people really research all that stuff online? Because I find still conference and events research pretty dire online, right? And wedding shows, when I ran conference facilities and we had massive weddings, right? never go online. They come to that wedding fair or that wedding show. They're huge in the UK, and we would pick up hundreds of thousands of pounds just over those 2-3 days, because there was still this, the bride would come along and touchy feely and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if the conference and events one is the right one. But Charlie, quick question for you. On the driving direct, right? And considering that we have talked dynamic corporate rates for donkey years, and we still have most of it static, and Stuart, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Isn't everybody just buying on booking.com or the brand website when they find something cheaper than their corporate rate?
Certainly a lot of people are, yeah, and there's a lot of companies who are working very hard to get people off from booking.com, because then they can't track them or put them through their own program. Ultimately people want to go with what's efficient, but I think that almost backs up Tammy's viewpoint on the way that people would book even conferences and events. That we are doing research, and it's not necessarily just about sort of doing online research, but if you're booking a conference or event, you're hopefully going there trying to build in your mind's eye a picture of what it's going to be like. And you're buying the place, the food you're tasting. Hopefully you're buying into the tangible, the things you're getting when you're buying an event space with thought. So, I guess a slight tweak on this. I suspect what the salesperson can do in those instances that adds real value is create the right package. And that's back to the point earlier of listening. Like, I do believe that, when we do a lot of events around the world, and we will go to a city, so San Diego is the next one, and we consider a number of different venues. And clearly we have to start by saying it's the venue that can hold 400 people and that has the breakout spaces that we expect or we need. So there's some like specific tangible things. But then if the salesperson's able to appreciate, I could charge you more here and save money here for you, and give you a comparison or a way of buying that means that actually it's flexible if the numbers drop or something. If that's your killing buying point, then the salesperson can flex prices. That's really powerful, and that makes the difference between booking one venue or another.
Yeah, but it's not just you go to a salesperson, and the first thing that they do, back in the day, they give you a brochure, right? And the more we advance, they gave you a CD, if we still know what that is, and then said, and if you want to know more, I'll go online.
Yeah, that's down to self-education.
So you can go back to your coffee.
Well, to touch on Charlie's point, the first thing a salesperson would do is when you bring fantastic inquiry, say, Charlie, this is amazing. How many of these do you do across the UK? Because we have X hotels here, and you look to spread it across the brand, and that's where you're going to add value. You absolutely should have technology to take yourself up to inquiry stage online. You should do. You definitely should do. But it's going to take that person to close the deal. And I think that's the big part of it. The collaboration is going to be the tweak. The cold, heartless data entry on a system isn't going to bring it over the line.
But then we've got all these other people working in a hotel. So we've got your marketing people, we've got your revenue people, you've got your team and your conference and events coordinator, you've got your wedding coordinator, you've got all these other people that are taking Charlie's inquiry and turning it into an event, then talking to the revenue manager and going, what pricing can we do, and all this sort of the steps that go on behind the scenes. And it's like, do we actually need this extra rung that's a salesperson, or is the role actually being done by different people in the hotel? Because unfortunately, I look at hotels today and I go, there's going to be some really tough decisions made over the next few months. And a GM, if there's a very unfortunate GM watching us today, they're looking to us for inspiration and going, I'm going to have to cut a staff member, I'm going to have to cut from my wages, and which is the role that I can get rid of.
Mm.
Well, that I mean, if you're doing that at a team size, that can also just come down to, I mean, it's a very specific thing, right, for a specific property, and to what extent people can take up, as you say, like if you've got the conference manager who could also then take on part of the sales role, then that's perhaps the place you can cover it.
Yes.
It's really challenging because it's hard. It's very hard to measure what the sales would be without that person.
Yeah. I think we're just talking about the holding of accounts as well. There's the proactive mining of accounts as well, which if you're looking to add value moving forwards, all these wonderful people that are coming through OTA should be being targeted and converted back into your direct business. And that's another thing that should be being picked up. But I think I'll give you an example. I stepped into a group that shall remain nameless, and they've done through the process of stripping out sales, and under the proviso that a revenue manager can reissue the contracts that have been issued, and that'll just roll on. We'll put a nominal 2% increase on, and we'll just keep that going on. And all those people faded away because somebody going out to speak to them, talk to them, collaborate with them, and show them that they added more value. And all those faded away. And ultimately, it took hiring a force of 5 people to bring back what was already in play and just eroded away. I think you can't count the need for somebody to have that relationship.
But then on the other side of the spectrum, when you're trying to go out and see those people, do they have the time to talk to you? Do they want to talk to you? Do they have the time to come into the hotel for show rounds? So our customers are very, very busy people now. And 10 years ago, 15 years ago, yes, coming in for coffee and a show round and a chat over your account and do a whole review, people had time to do that. But today, do they?
Well, I'm coming to talk to you. I'm not just coming for a chat. I'm coming to talk to you about how we can add value to your business. And that takes back to that point. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think if I'm coming to say, Charlie, we did a fantastic event last time. Here's some feedback that you can put to your colleagues and share how we really nailed that event. But going forward, next time, what about this? What if we put that in play? What if we did that? What if this was the entertainment after the event? And I think that's back to collaboration, and that's always going to be a crucial part of what we do with hospitality. You've got to have someone being hospitable to you.
So, Stuart, can I ask you a question? Because if you're a hotelier and you have salespeople or maybe a few, how do you assess the extent to which they're adding value? Like whether you've got high performing salesperson or they're really lucky because this hotel it's just easy sell. Like how have you done that in the past? Really worked out whether someone's pulling the weight and delivering value?
Platform of accounts. And that account platform has a delivery target, which is always better than the best years. And it's got a retention target, which is always better than the best years. And if I give you that platform, that is very much a part of what we do. And then you've got a new business target as well on top of that. And they're measured monthly, if not bi-weekly. And I think the whole purpose of what we do, and I think having seen a business that's lost so much money, you have a big list and it's red or green. And those greens and those reds are down to the person that's managing those accounts.
But isn't it because go ahead, Rob.
Do you offset that against their wage?
No, personally, I do a bonus target on that retention and that new business target, and we're talking, millions of pounds. And I think the estate in question back then was an £18 million turnover hotel, and we were controlling 7-8 million direct. And you can kind of forecast, concrete forecast that May's going to be worth that from a corporate platform. And it's a building block. And then you put your OTAs, you put your tour groups, you put your revenue managed website booking incentives through. But it's a building block of a bigger picture. But you need that in play, and they need looking after. Otherwise, somebody from another brand is going to come, have a coffee, and take them away.
But still,
in a
question about the tracking, right?
You've got hotels in a market where it's almost a commodity, right? And the best salespeople that I've been out with, and I'll tell you a story. I went out with one of our salespeople late last year, and we're on our way to a pitch, quite a senior pitch, and I said to her, "Where's your laptop?" And she said, "What do you mean laptop?" I said, "Well, what are you going to do when you get there?" She goes, "I've worked for this company for 3 years. I've never brought a laptop to a sales meeting." I said, "So what do you do?" So then I turned up to the meeting with her, and I walked in and, "Oh, Terry, how are you?" Kissing. "Oh, you're amazing, blah, blah, blah." She's got the phone out and they're talking about, "Oh, yeah, how was your kid on the week?" "Oh, your baby's looking beautiful." And just all this amazing stuff about the whole family history. Now, the reason we got invited to that meeting was because she has a personal relationship with that person, and that person's spending millions with us. I guarantee if she walked out the door and went to another brand tomorrow, that business would go with her. So how do you, I guess, balance saying, well, hang on, I know that business will walk out the door because it will go with her. It's with her. It's not with a PowerPoint. It's not with a website. None of that. it's got to do with her relationship that she's got with that person. Where does that surely still has a place in our industry today, right?
Sure.
That'd be the last person I get rid of out of the company. I can tell you that in a million years. She's worth so much.
Sure. We have we have a weekly report goes out, and that weekly report is my guys telling our estate, this is what I'm worth to you. That money that comes in each month, guess what? That isn't just magic in. I had appointments and chats and targets and I had account development plans to get that to that stage. And that's it's a very real part. And you mustn't discount that, because it's not just the value of the relationships you've got on site, it's the value of the relationships you've got outside of that. Again, that's not a spreadsheet. You can cross over brands, you can cross over territories. It's a potent thing.
Yeah, so that's why I think I'm not sure about, I get that the marketing stimulates demand for somebody you have no relationship with. But once you've got that relationship, that's much more sticky than a brochure that somebody's created. So I wonder about, I'm not sure what the balance is between, and even measurement, if I sat down and said, listen, submit to me every week what you deliver, I don't know if I could really put it down in paper and say that's what it's worth every week, but I know for sure my business would suffer if she wasn't there. So it's a bit of I think there's a difference between the product that you're selling and relationships and measuring and marketing. It's all a very disjointed sort of area, but it does come together in a big way, in a really important way, when you've got a really good salesperson.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, very well.
Good.
We're just talking about the future of sales, actually.
Okay.
And if Heather was here, Heather would have a view on this.
She would. We've kindly given her a couple of days off.
Very, very nice.
I love the apron.
You know what?
There's not been too much cooking so far at that Rob's end, I don't think. Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Yvonne,
you'd be proud of this one.
Yeah, is it Marco's?
Yvonne has a Marco's. Is it the Mr. White's?
No, we have the New York Italian.
New York Italian. So one of Marco's franchises in Yvonne's hotel, as well as the escape rooms.
Yes.
Yvonne, hi, we don't know each other.
Hello, I LinkedIn requested you the other day. Thank you for the accept.
Hi guys.
Hi, Sunit. So,
Hi, Sunit. How are you?
just to the
Good.
first panelists, we kind of crammed both things together to decide, what, we are all good at talking about sales, all good at talking about revenue management, or selling extra revenue, alternative revenue, right? So I kind of want to make a segue here, but I also want to ask a question, especially Charlie and Stuart here, right? So when I look at technology sales, it's very straightforward. You generally have an OTE target, so an on-target earnings target, that you bring home a certain amount, and then that makes up your overall cash figure at the end of the day. And it's very straightforward. As long as you bring in the accounts, they pay, happy days, that's done, right? And you have the accounts paper in a very similar environment, right? What I find difficult, Stuart, with hotels is my sales manager goes out there and contracts a 10,000 room night account, right? But yet 8,000 rooms of those comes through Booking.com, right? So would I want to pay that guy or fire him or her, right?
Well, he's not.
It's kind of then the spreadsheet junkie comes on me, right? That says, hang on a second, yeah, great, your corporate accounting X, Y, Z, but hang on, you negotiated a 180 rate and their average rate is $95. And I know exactly what the salesperson will say. Oh no, you revenue manager, if you always drop your rates on a Tuesday, Wednesday, you're £100, right? It is all your fault. And kind of you have this kitty fight. Right? Yeah. And then we're going to things, and then that's where I wanted also Yvonne's opinion is, where you sell something that not every hotel has, right? Yvonne, I believe you can tell us the story after Stuart just defended his title.
So,
how do you want to deal with that? Isn't it like our kids fighting?
So, sorry, the question was, you broke up a little bit, that somebody's claimed to have brought in an account that then has produced through Booking.com.
Yeah, correct. So
They haven't brought it in. That's not an account they've brought in. Because they haven't done enough to convince the client to come away from Booking.com with the value add or the relationship.
Yeah, hang on, but then you could argue that because the revenue person brought the rates down, it was a smart thing to do on the company, but it's still my account, no?
Well, if the revenue manager went out and got the relationship and then pitched the rate, then it's their account, yeah. And if they maintain it on a weekly, monthly basis and ensure that it comes to fruition, it's their account. But if it goes through Booking.com, it's Booking.com's account.
But you're saying it's the revenue manager who's undercut the contracted rate, therefore
yeah, exactly. Like every Tuesday, Wednesday, whacks down the rate because they're saying, "Oh, I'm not going to fill," and then you see that happy days.
But shouldn't the sales manager have actually talked to the revenue manager before they went and negotiated the rate and went, right, I'm going to go and negotiate $180, and the revenue manager goes, no. The data is not backing that up. The numbers are not backing that up. We're not selling at that rate, so why contract it?
So why then have the sales manager? Sales manager goes to a meeting and says, hello, we have this great relationship. Want to have an account? I can offer you, hang on 1 second. Rob, can I give a 120 rate? Is that okay, boss? Yeah, okay. I can give you 120, right?
Yeah, but again, it's back to value add. And if you've got those accounts direct, you've got the value of not paying the commission to the OTA. And in theory, that's just one tap of a multitude of skills that you guys can employ. If that comes directly, you can then have the conversation about, listen, what you do for your dinner, what you do for your on-spend, what you do for your meetings, what you do for your Christmas, what you do for your further events. And it becomes a whole total revenue piece rather than just that bedroom hit.
But I think the problem, revenue that came by Booking.com, because I don't see that as your account. Like the revenue
it's not.
No, that's revenue manager.
I think the point Fabian's making is a lot of salespeople would say, well, that is my account. I still put in the whole work, and the hotel are taking this other action that's ruining my.
It's got to be direct. It's got to be direct. It's got to have a room night production target and an on-spend target. It's not a Booking.com account. Otherwise, you're not managing it. It's just setting the.
Because I thought the broader point that Fabian's making is that one of the things that happens when you have salespeople in the room is you're hopefully hiring people who are relatively hungry to hit targets and do well, and that creates an incentive. And their incentive often is slightly misaligned with what a corporate incentive might be at any moment in time. And it's part of the pain, but it is worth going through. And we're constantly, I mean, we change our sales targets and ways we measure them almost, it feels like multiple times a year. I'm sure it's not that because we wouldn't do that to people, but it constantly is broken and constantly you've got to tweak it to push it back the other way. I think that's just one of the costs of having a sales team. It's imperfect incentives, but it can still be very valuable if you make it at least 80% right.
I mean, the only way I think,
I'm just thinking of all those sales managers that unfortunately we've all had the experience of working with, and they come to you with this big list of these are my corporate accounts. So we as revenue have to set up the prices and the distribution and all that. And full well when you're setting it all up, you're like, these guys are on the other side of town. They're not going to produce, and you're just giving them to me to meet your numbers for this month to say, I contracted 20 new clients.
Oh, well, there's some poor tracking there. It's got to be a monthly target.
And they're going to come to you on the busiest night of the year.
Yes.
I think that's the incentive. That's a really good point, though, isn't it? Because around incentivizing your salespeople, it can sometimes be counterproductive. And that's where I think, Charlie, where you're coming from, you've got to constantly be evolving and changing your strategy so that it's not counterproductive. But it is an interesting point, isn't it? Because we've all had that experience where it's just about delivering a number to win the incentive. How do you structure yours, Stuart, at Cedar Court?
They've got a platform of maybe 180, 200 accounts each, and then that platform's got to produce X, and the multiples of that platform, I mean, we're talking millions to a wage that you can guess the bracket of. The value of that alone is the ROI is phenomenal. It's 1 month for their wage. So I think that's one side. The outside of that is the new business bracket, but again, that business has got to be quantified, it's got to be account developed, it's got to be measurable. You've got to have it concrete. There's no room for wishy-washy or that booked through that time. No, that doesn't count. It comes direct and it comes with the best value to us, and that's managed properly. anyone that suggests otherwise isn't really selling. We're just waiting to see what comes through.
Do you think, Stuart, in the last sort of decade or so, has it, because talking about technology, what impact has that had on, has that changed the role of a sales manager over the last decade?
Yeah, it's funny, Rob, because we had this chat the other day. Everyone's like, oh, people aren't going to want to see us as much now for obvious reasons. They're not going to want us in. Well, actually, guess what, guys? It makes us even more agile because we can do this. We can have 15 of these a day rather than 4 appointments and travel. I think you can book online diary meetings. I think the technology's got a big part to play. You're always going to want to push for that face-to-face, however that looks in the future. But I think certainly where we're going now is going to be quite interesting. I'm having conversations now about money, 21, 22, this way, which we would never have done before.
Yeah.
Rob, Yvonne just dropped out because I wanted to ask a question, but I might have to ask Rob right now. Oh, sorry, I have to ask Stuart.
Oh, there we go. Oh, you have been busy there. I thought I just kept on seeing you just standing. I didn't know you got. That was very quick. I can't believe you whipped that up while we've been here.
It's pretty
Here's
impressive.
one I prepared earlier.
Yeah. You have an immaculate kitchen, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. I did clean it up before. Actually, I hired an
What are
Airbnb.
you
just
actually
today.
making?
Yeah, you hired it, yeah.
Chicken and broccoli fritters. Are they fritters?
Yeah.
I don't know. Fabian sent me this recipe, so I'm just making it. Literally.
Me too, because I
started
didn't
this webinar.
Are we going to share the recipe at the end of the webinar?
Yes.
Depends how the food looks.
Let me ask you this now, with the lockdown and stuff, right? With hotels locked down, with hotels not opening, with reopening.
I know where we're going.
Yeah. Alternative revenues, right?
Let me tell you. So the conversation we've had, if I'm right, and I think in what you're saying, talking to your clients now, when there isn't a pot of gold at the end of the conversation, is more important than it ever has been. And we've spent more time having client conversations now when they're at home, and you're talking about the weather, lockdown, what you're doing to exercise, what you're watching. That's more important than it ever has been, because that person knows when you speak to them, there isn't a conference or a bedroom booking at the end. And it's, again, back to adding value and forging genuine relationships. If that's what we
But how important it is. They don't have any clear guidelines on when their particular companies are going to come back. I mean, I'm looking at current scenario, right? 25 other competitor hotels and their sales teams are doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, if the business is yet to come in 6 months, and knowing how, the loyalties can shift, because, price will be one of the key deciding factor. Why don't we kind of come back and revisit this chapter in 3 months' time?
If the loyalties are shift, you haven't got a genuine relationship, and that's what they should be working on now, is point one. Point two, these conversations are happening now in my team. We're a team of 6, and we've already got millions on the books, millions, for the next couple of years. So again, we're just firming up that forecast as we move forward, and we're not relying on the unknown of the OTAs or the unknown of the incentive offers or the unknown of anything else. I think you should be firming up now, and there should be some commitment to the future if there's a genuine relationship there.